for having me, man. I'm super excited.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I honestly, I was just like, the only way I could think to start this was like, dude, how's church going?
Oh,
Like,
it's going great.
yeah.
Yo, so shout out to Joseph for everything, but it's going really good. Playing some great songs, great musicians, and it's been a blast. We had a really good service last week. We're gonna play some bangers this week. I think we're gonna do a little sneak peek, probably do more and more from BJ Putnam, and maybe doing
What?
Jesus' name. Maybe doing Jesus' name. We're gonna do a few other songs, but those are ones I threw them out there just because
Dude.
it's very fun playing on
Now,
guitar.
yeah. Do you know who picks the songs? Is it the singer? The
Mhm.
worship leader? Okay. Because that, I mean, more and more, whew, for those that don't know, it's like the BJ Putnam jam. Like, other than Glorious, right? We used to
Oh
rock
yeah.
Glorious. Yeah,
Hmm.
we used to jam Glorious. I miss those songs. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's just different. They're just a different vibe, you know.
Yeah, high energy, especially these really nice guitar lines that super simple but so powerful. And it goes back to I know we'll joke around, we'll play a lot, but like do it again.
Yeah,
Those chords, that 3 to 4 to 7 to 1, that just
yep,
super simple, but hits every single time. And it's just one of those things that I don't know what it is. Well, I do know
yeah,
it. It's Jesus, and just every single time, but it's amazing. Something so simple
yeah,
goes so powerful.
yeah. I think it's funny that some musicians, that are in worship enough to where they can obviously remember the songs that they've already learned,
Mhm.
but when you cue them up, like when you just play like very lightly, you play something very lightly, it invokes the spirit. Like it triggers something in everyone because everyone reflects on, oh, they remember when they learned that song last, or when, or they remember a worship moment where they were like, oh, it was my hands were in the air and we were playing Do It Again. It was great. I mean, we did it as a joke, with us, right? But
Mhm.
it's true. Like it invokes something that you can't explain. And like those are like the best go-to chord progressions or verses, choruses, bridges, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think more people need to hone in on that because 9 times out of 10 we'll have what, like a keyboard player do it. Like I don't know if Yakub ever does that where he'll just start like chiming in on something. I feel like that's the most obvious way to do it, right?
It is. I think the key player always leads it. Well, whoever's playing MD too, if the MD calls it or wherever
Sure.
it's in service wise, but the key player kind of quotes it, and then the
Yeah.
rest of it starts picking it up and just go from there. And I think once you get to a point where you played so many worship songs, you start realizing that before I even get there, highly recommend everyone to learn the number system, which will help things get so much easier. But as you
Yeah.
start playing so many songs, you start calling these numbers out and you start hearing the same progression. Like now, when I hear songs, if it's like a CCM song, like something modern, I can learn the song by ear before the song's even over because you know where the song is going. You can hear the vocalist. Oh, she's going here. She's going to this part. So instead of learning the song exactly like, hey, front, beginning to end, you learn the
Right.
part and you just listen for that. Hey, what's the nuance you hear like in the voice, the inflection? Okay, she's gonna repeat the verse. She's gonna do a verse again. She's gonna do a longer chorus, or she's going to the bridge, long bridge, and just build, or she's gonna just drop off. Just
Yeah.
vocals and just kind of feel where the energy's going.
Yeah. Dude, I had two questions. I just thought them up. The first one was, um, do you guys ever plan on playing with tracks?
I don't think so.
No, that's
Reason
good.
being, yeah.
It's good that, that's actually, kind of a norm for you
Mm.
guys.
I think I prefer without. Tracks are always great, but the only downside is you have to be exactly like the song. And also,
Right.
me personally, I don't like hearing verse one, verse two, chorus.
Chorus.
And when you're just feeling the spirit, I know we've done it in the past where
Right.
we've prepared 4 songs and we get those 4 songs and the spirit's just really heavy in the room, and the whole service is us just worshiping, just song
Right.
after song after song after song. But it just takes time. When you're on tracks, you don't have that luxury to do that. when you have that
Right.
free flowing, sometimes, hey, you won't go back to the bridge because the congregation's so heavy and people are just so into the song. Prime example, this is like, Do It Again or Reckless Love. Those are very powerful songs. Or In Jesus' Name, if you go like a really old song. Not
Right.
really, but little
But older, yeah, I know what you mean.
older, yeah. So older
Darlene Sheck,
songs,
you know.
yeah. You get those
Yeah.
older songs that no matter what, people always want to hear it, and it's just such a powerful song. So I had done tracks in the past, but the church like with Joseph at Reliance, we from since I've been there, have never done tracks. I don't think you're since
Yeah.
you're
Or
there.
even a click too, huh? You guys don't play to a click either, right?
Sometimes, but then Joseph is just going,
Just cut it. Or,
yeah.
oh, what'd you
Well,
say?
he starts like making the sound.
Oh, he'll do.
So he's
Okay.
talking to the
Yeah.
mic. So
I
sometimes we'll go
vaguely
to
remember
click.
that.
Yeah, sometimes we'll go to click. It just depends, but usually we're pretty spot on, luckily.
Yeah, I think he does that to, you know, it's like a little cue, like, hey, just think about the time, everybody, you know.
Mhm.
But he
Mhm.
does do a really good job at like faking it with his mouth, right? Because he'd be
Mhm.
like, "Where's the click coming from?"
But
Oh, the
now
other
you
thing I was
know.
gonna ask, another thing I was gonna ask you was, do you actually remember like when and or how you learned the number system?
Actually, I do.
Okay, cool.
And this is not the conventional way. I think the way I learned was probably the hardest way possible.
Oh no.
Is I went into a church thinking I can play Hillsong all day. They tell
Right.
me, oh, it's just, dude, don't worry about it. Just show up. Here's some songs. Little did I know, they sent me some old school gospel the night before, doing some
Uh,
praise with these crazy lines. And then when I show up, I learned the other three songs that are pretty easy. They changed the keys, and I couldn't play another keys. I had to
uh,
figure out, okay, how do you do these number systems? You learn these chord shapes and it gets easier again when you're for me specifically I rarely play acoustic guitar. It's usually electric, so I'm using three finger chord voicings, three string chord
right.
voicings, usually like the B, G, and D string. That's like my sweet spot, maybe the high E.
Okay.
But once you start learning the chord, you start learning the number system because there's constantly, hey, one, four, three, going into four. They're calling it out and the
Yeah.
MD, and you got to know where it's going, or like the flat seventh, the big one too. You just got to know the numbers, and through time, like osmosis, you just figure it out because you learn
Yeah.
so many songs, you start seeing the same chord progressions over and over and over. Instead of 1 6 5 4, it might be 5 4 6 1, and any other variation, or 3 to 4, depending where it's go.
Yeah.
So I think over the years you learn the number system. I never sat there like, hey, by hand, like figured it out, but just
Right.
through trial and error.
Yeah. Yeah. It is funny that in real time you were like, wait a minute, how do I do this? Like, and it goes to show you like how snappy and fast you are at figuring out the music
Well,
side
at
of
the
it.
time,
Right?
I wish it was like that back then. At the time, my volume off and practically like this.
Uh,
I know how to play.
right. Yeah.
My volume was off for like maybe the first 6 months, but
Mm.
when I compared myself, because then we ended up playing the song again at Shield of Faith at this big conference. I learned the song again. This is years ago. I remember when I first learned the song, I couldn't learn it in time. It took me hours just to get that first line. I was like, I couldn't do
Right.
it because it's so new. You're learning, it's literally learning a new language. But
Yeah.
as time went on and I listened back to the song, I learned it within like half an hour to an hour because you just learn so much more out of the vocabulary, how you can just learn how everything's going, and because you learn so many other lines. And again, most of it's just pentatonic. So unless you
Yeah.
get crazy stuff, but yeah,
Sure.
oftentimes pentatonic 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. But the times that they, if the song not ask for it, if the song plays it where there's a little line that's like either it's just not repetitive, it's not like something that repeats over and over again, but it's something unique and they only do it one time, or maybe there's multiple things like that in a
Mhm.
song. Those are things that trip me up where I have to actually stop, pause, like possibly loop it somehow, or single out like the instrument.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where all all the rules go out the window and you're just like, okay, I just got to sit and listen now and just focus and noodle and try to figure it out. Versus, 9 times out of 10 for every other worship song, you can literally just say the numbers, and you're like, okay, I'm good. And
Mm,
then you'll just do what you do with those numbers, with, like you said, in those little triads, right in the middle of the guitar, or middle of the string set.
mm,
Uh, yeah, yeah. It's funny. I honestly can't remember a specific time where I either learned or utilized the number system. I feel like it was just a combination of like people using it as, I thought it was like slang, like, oh, just land on the one, and I was like, yeah, the one is like the root of the song, and like people would
mm,
just say those things, and over time I just picked it up. But I know that there was an instance where like I had to, either I was taking like a music test, or or I was learning about like the Nashville number system, because that's technically
mm.
what it is. But I was reading about it in like our country guitar class or something. It was so it felt like rudimentary, because you
Yeah.
it wasn't like I was applying it in real time like you were. I was literally just filling out like a sheet that said, you know, what is A minor in the G major harmonized major scale? I was just
Mm.
like, that's the two. Like, okay, whatever. Um, but I almost wish I had learned it younger, but through just process elimination, as I'm jamming with people and they're saying things, and it would have been cooler. So,
Well, I think I learned it the same way as you did, but I learned
oh
in a
really?
formal setting. But again, keep in mind, I played classical for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And so I learned in a very formal setting, but you never learned, you like these super formal chords, like the Neapolitan too, like these super,
Oh weird.
yeah, these super intricate chord substitutions. But
Yeah.
in art, like in worship, I think the craziest chord substitution, maybe like a five to, a sharp five up to a six, flat seven, flat five,
Right.
depending where you're
Yeah,
at.
like the walk-ups, right?
Yeah,
Doing
like
like a walk-up
kind of these
thing.
Neapolitan chord, like these crazy, like these German six. And I forgot about these. I forgot I knew what these are, but
I
yeah.
don't actually, German six, that's over my head. I don't know what that is.
But these are just
But
chord substitute. I think it's German six. If someone don't quote me on that. I think it's
yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Or like
But
there's a song that's hopping around right now by Elevation Rhythm, and they have it's called Praises. It's not praise, it's praises. And it's like their youth band. I don't know if you've heard of them. They have that song, Goodbye Yesterday. I'm living on another way. You ever heard that song?
mm,
Okay. Anyways, you'll probably hear it in the future, now that I've plopped it in your head. Or Siri will like hear us, and then all of a sudden you'll see an ad for it on your YouTube
or have
stream.
us
Like,
play and have them next time with you guys. Just have it play.
yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah.
jam
But
on it.
long story short is there's a two major that then goes to, so it starts on the six, and every other chord's like pushed, so it's da da, and then it does four flat five, like it does this. It's weird. It sounds like it would be terrible, but because of the way they do it, it's a little funkier. And but like talking about those substitutions, like you can have a two major, and it actually, it reminds me of like the Beatles, or they used to just plop major minor chords everywhere and modulate things that way.
Mhm.
But yeah, like yeah, I'd be curious to know if there are specific names. Like, what is the German six chord?
That's a
Do you
great
know?
question. I've
Okay,
never
cool.
yeah.
As long as we know the term, then we can search it later. So
Yeah,
it'll be fine.
that's a great question. But as you get these chord
Yeah.
substitutions and you start
Right.
hearing more, I think for my ear specifically, the most common one I hear is the flat seven, because
Right.
I always hear it as like a sunshine chord, like a huge.
Mm. I think
Yeah,
blues, like the blues, right?
yeah, that's
Or
what I hear. We can hear it. For me specifically, when I hear the flat seven, very distinctive sound. But I remember
right.
hearing that for the first song, the first time in Jesus' Name. When you go chord progression like
Mm.
A, F major seven to D minor seven,
Yeah.
then A minor 11, and then it goes like that progression, E, F, G, then A minor, then it goes up to that B flat. Goes that B
Yeah.
flat up to D, and then back to C, then back to the intro F major seven. And
Yeah.
kind of speaking a little bit fast, that's the chord progressions. You start hearing that big, like dun dun dun. I can't sing in pitch, but you have this big.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He's here, just a big like. So I literally just think of sunshine. That's why every time I hear the chord, I'm like, okay, that's a flat seven. I can hear it.
Nice. Yeah, it's very Israel Houghton, right?
Yeah, exactly. But you start
Yeah.
hearing it more and more and more, and you get the little nuance. Hey, that's his language. That's his little flavor. That's
Yeah.
his icing on top.
Yeah.
And that's or cherry on top, actually. That's the icing on the
Yeah.
cake. But that's you start hearing these different chord progressions. But again, it's through time you start learning more and more songs over and over and over. And now you start hearing specific songs for the first time. You get to a point, I don't recommend this, but you start like literally hear a song. Okay, cool, I got it here at one time, and then you just go.
Yeah. 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 In our kids ministry, we literally do songs that only have four chords. So I try to make it easy for them to like hear the changes and memorize it just one time. And then they know, okay, the rest of the song, that's all I do. And then they can just focus. They don't even think. They just keep repeating over and over and over. And I hope that what that's gonna do is when they hear it in other songs, even if it's just the verse or just the intro or chorus, bridge, whatever, they'll be able to piece it together. Cause a lot of times I feel like if you haven't been around music long enough, just the sheer idea of learning an entire song front to back without a chart or something is just super overwhelming. And but I try to communicate, hey, it's really just like a four chord song, just you're doing two or three of them in the song. Like, so
Mhm.
don't be
Yeah.
overwhelmed. Just think of it in those sections and don't try to beat yourself up and write every chord possible. Just say, hey, verse and bridge is this chord progression, chorus is this, intro is that, and then call it a day. And then just follow the form.
Mhm. I think that's a
But
great point because something I used to get stuck was you get stuck in analysis paralysis. And
mm,
then when you start playing, it doesn't go like that. It does
right,
not go according to plan. Of course, you're on click. You can play along with the click if you're
right.
depending what church you're with and give you all the individual parts. But most churches I've been at, I never had that luxury. Here's a song. The song could be in D. What song are we playing in F? Learn it in D. Prime example on Sunday when we played last week, the songs we're playing were all in D or in B. I've never played them in B. Just
Mm,
figure out quick. Hey, play it real quick. Okay, great. Learn the position, move on,
right.
adjust, and then you just go from there. And you
Yeah.
also add a little flavor, little sprinkle on top that you want to stay within the chord progression, but you add some little flavor into it, especially
Yeah,
when it's
like your favorite chord shape, if
exactly
it
you start doing your
you can
very
do some
chord
open
shape.
strings or something.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And you do like these power chord octaves, depending where we're going to get. And for me specifically, that big, I'm big on this one shape chord because I can literally do a six, a one, a four, and a five all within the same four frets without
yeah, yeah,
moving
yeah,
anywhere on in any key, and I can go different variation. I can do the same exact thing with the three, because of the inversion, the ones and the three over one is the same chord inversion. I
yeah,
can do a six and go lead to a seven or a two, three, all within those few frets. But again, it's because you learn your chord structure, and then from there you start learning, okay, what's the bare minimum I need? Because now instead of me doing these big block chords, because again, I'm an electric guitar, you're not doing that because the bass has the low end, the piano
right.
has both little mix of everything. You want to have that cut through. So that's why I'm playing in the higher register typically. Like typically the sweet spot's maybe 5 to 12, maybe 15. That's like the frets.
Yeah,
Frets 5 through 12, maybe 15, but I'm not doing this big open G chord. Rarely do I ever play that. And I
yeah,
mean very rarely.
yeah, yeah. It's funny. I'm the polar opposite. I only play chords unless the song calls for a lead, like like or a guitar line.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's just the way I process worship songs or what, but yeah, I've never been like a parts guy. I've always done the other thing. And I was actually going to ask you, like, has there ever been a time where someone taught you how to approach worship guitar? Or obviously, if you're playing with another guitar player, you have even more freedom to not play as
Mhm.
much and just to be more, particular about what you're doing. Um, or is it? I mean, I feel like it's just everyone's own personal, preference. You know.
Yeah, I think for me specifically, no one ever sat there and actually taught me worship guitar early on because I didn't know the language at all. I was on worship tutorials all day.
Oh,
Any
really?
how to play this song specifically, a watch a cover real quick, see what their fingering is, just because the ear wasn't there. The
Right.
ear was not there. I couldn't hear these chord progressions, what they're doing in a specific line. And then you start realizing, again, through time, you start realizing these lines you can predict it. You predict this
Yeah.
line's going, this is where it is. You start hearing the first note, okay, that's a That's the root down to the seven to the what song were we playing the other day?
Because
Uh
you've never played another instrument, right?
no, I can play a little bit of piano just because of class.
Sure.
That's about it. I know my scales, but I can't
Yeah.
play any, maybe chopsticks. That's about it.
Right, right. But
But
I
yeah,
guess even you thinking of like your left hand's your bass, your right hand's your guitar, right?
mhm.
And being able to compartmentalize that at least is kind of cool. But like you said too, you're not actually utilizing the instrument the way I'm saying it. But
Well,
I was just
sometimes
curious.
we'll,
I've never asked you that, so I was like, oh,
yes.
what if he's played any other instruments?
No, no, no. I can't like I can play bass, but I can't groove like a bass player. I'm just
Sure.
doing the root note of the chord where it's
Yeah,
at.
we're guitar player, bass players.
Yeah, exactly. Drums,
Yeah.
absolutely not. My rhythms outside of these hands, non-existent. But I do have a lot of heart. I can have a lot of enthusiasm, but the skill is just not there.
Right.
Singing, no. I know where the pitch is at, but
Yeah.
I'm very monotone when it comes to that. But I acknowledge that because I never
Right.
practiced it. But yeah, typically with guitar, it's just that's been the only thing.
Yeah.
Especially lately, it's strictly worship, and that's it. Maybe some shout stuff. I can't do shout like I used to,
Right.
but a lot of that again, it's just fast pentatonic lines. That's all it is. You got to have very good synchronization between both hands, and just feel that. Bop, bop, bop.
That's that's a whole other like world. It's just it's so unique, but then the skill set to do it is just it's beyond me for sure. I can
Oh,
fake it. I can fake it for like 30 seconds. And then after that, it's like, okay, they can tell I'm playing the same thing. Okay. And then like if you change the song and I'll do the same thing in that key, you know.
that's
So
what I do. That's what honestly, that's what I used to figure it out. And you have these little lines, and again, it goes back to pentatonic. It's all just
mhm.
doing pentatonic. You're doing a
But
lot of
major
fingers.
pentatonic.
Oh, I think in minor for yeah, you play in
Oh,
major. Yeah.
really?
Yeah. So I always in my head, it's just minor pentatonic. But I'll okay, it's kind of weird. I know
Well,
it's
I know because I know
major,
you can just
the
adjust it.
shapes.
You
Yeah,
just
the shapes I'm thinking in
move
minor
it.
pentatonic because that's
Yeah.
the way I know it. But I know my ears can end on the root note. This song's in major.
Right.
I don't think there's
Right.
I can't think of any worship song that's in a minor key.
Yeah.
Maybe dominant.
Maybe some old Hillsong. Or because I mean, there's songs that start on the minors, you know. But are you just thinking more like minor in the tonality of it is all minor?
Yeah, something in the tonality, like say like back to like Reckless Love. Reckless Love is very heavy, just 6 5 4 6 5 4 6 5 4,
Right.
and the line
Has
is
a little of a minor tone to
yeah,
it.
but then it resolves on the one. It
Sure.
always resolves on the one, especially gets to the chorus. But it's literally
Yeah.
that same progression. But other than that, yeah, typically my hand is so adjusted to the minor pentatonic. I have first position, second, third position. Like my sweet spot, maybe like 1 to 4. That's like my bread and butter because that's my hand so adjusted to. I can play everything. Maybe 1 4 and then five position, fifth position five.
Yeah.
But I'm always thinking minor, but I know I always have to resolve in major, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Right.
It's the
Right.
way
Yeah. Because
my head operates.
yeah, I don't know if you know this, but because obviously when with minor pentatonic, you've got like those landing notes, right? That if you
Mhm.
land like third finger on the third string, you on at a that one main minor pentatonic shape, it always sounds good. You can add a couple notes, you can bend it,
Mhm.
and but for major, I could never really hone in on, and I just didn't spend enough time, honestly. But
Mhm.
yeah, it was one of those things like, oh yeah, just move it down and just play a minor pentatonic, but in the major place, and then
Exactly.
you know,
Mhm.
but yeah, very rarely do we have to solo in major or at that point, dude, I would just do octaves and just have fun with it that way.
George
Just
Benson style. Let's go.
yeah, dude. Oh my gosh. Or Wes Montgomery, bro.
Oh,
He would do
oh,
octaves, then he would do
West
like
Montgomery. You're right. West
oh no, no,
Montgomery.
no, no. But it's also yeah, there's tons of guys. There's tons of guys. But like he would even do block chords, like walk
Mhm.
down. Oh gosh. Like I have to admire that style just for what it is. Actually, this is kind of a good segue. You mentioned classical. Is there often a time that you actually incorporate some classical training into what you're playing for worship or?
I think actual lines, no, but maybe technique wise, just
Okay.
because I'm very comfortable. I'm not as good as I used to be. I'm not saying I was ever that good, but I'm not as comfortable as I used to be with
Right.
classical because I can do hybrid picking pretty, I'm very comfortable with it. I can do
Right.
it. Again, never had the best right hand. I'm left-handed. So when I'm doing hybrid picking, I don't mind doing picking in my middle finger or just doing just fingering the pick and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
finger style and just
Yeah.
go. I'm fine with doing that. So
Yeah.
using specific lines, no, but maybe it could have helped with the chord inversions because like finding those actually, yeah, it did because
Because your shapes, right?
the
Like,
shapes, yeah, correct. You learn the
yeah.
shapes. You have to constantly work on different voicings. I remember when I was in college, I would literally do every single voice inversion of every chord possible. So I'll literally go on tab paper or like the neck paper and just, okay, if I did
Right.
C major seven on the third fret, this is what it looks like this. I know it's kind of hard, but it's like C major seven. But I do
Right.
C major seven first inversion, it'll be like this. And that's personally my favorite chord. That's a beautiful chord. I highly recommend it if it learns it. It's C major seven
Nice.
on the bass. Such a beautiful chord and
Yeah.
you every single inversion, and that's how you start playing around with everything because that's taught classical because you have to truly utilize every inversion possible because you're playing the bass and the melody at the same time. So I think it
Mm,
would help a lot
that's a
if
good point, actually.
you have to play around with the chord inversion. It also helps with leading tones too. Like if I'm doing like back to In Jesus' Name, just because it has that C major seven, I'll go into that C major seven and then go to E because first inversion and it drops me back that because that's at three and goes back up to the
Right.
four.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's like it just leads into that
Leading
next chord.
tone, meaning
Yeah.
like where it's going, like,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
resolving on like the next chord, or
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So that's the way I'll start looking at it.
yeah, yeah. Actually, funny story. And I could show you later in the future. But when I was taught about inversions in school, I kind of went crazy with minor nines because, like, once you realize that, oh, if I just take these four notes and then I just shift them and then invert them, and for whatever reason, the minor nine shape that I would do from like the fourth string up, uh, the shape naturally is, it's open, but then once you like the next version is just like nuts, and then even the next one after that's nuts, and then the top 12th fret one is like, it's insane to the point where I have to like bend the guitar straight up just to like do it for the most part. And but I used it in tons of stuff. It like became my minor sound when I was, I'm doing so many air quotes today. uh yeah, it became the minor sound that I don't think people would know me of, like, it's not like I had anything credible or something, but it was just one of those like, oh, when people hear me play this, I hope that they think of me, or they hear it in the future, maybe they think of me. But yeah, I wrote like songs in seven with the inversions, and I would just do this like weird, because I love progressive rock growing up, and they would always do that kind of stuff. So
Mm.
but yeah, inversions are weird because, like you said, the only times you really have to mess with the inversions for chords is, yeah, three, 1/3, or what is it, 5/7, in some cases. But yeah, or even is it seven? There's a 5/7, yeah, 5/7. But yeah, there's only a few places that you have these crazy looking inversions. But I'd be curious to anyone in comments or anybody chimes in like, oh yeah, like when I learned it, this is what I would do with it, and blah blah blah, because I feel like you can just go down a rabbit hole, right?
Um,
Especially in classical, like classical is nuts with just shapes and
yeah, the fingering is extremely critical when you're doing
yeah.
classical because you want to have some notes ringing out. For example, it also gives a different timbre. If you play an
Mm-hmm.
open B opposed to the B on the fourth fret on the G string, that's a
Right.
way different sound. Or the seventh fret on the D string, it's a different, it's a way, it's same octave, technically same
Yeah.
octave, but just the sounds significantly different. And
Yeah.
any open string is going to sound a lot sharper. Not like sharp in the sense like pitch wise, but it's not like it cuts through a lot more opposed to you play
Right.
the same exact note. So say for example, you have the open E, you play that same octave open E on the D or the A string, it's gonna sound not gonna cut through at all. It is,
Yeah.
but it's not cut through as much, and it just sounds a
And it
different
won't ring.
sound
It won't
differently. Yeah,
ring
it won't
out,
ring.
you
Yeah,
know?
it won't
Yeah.
ring out as much because that vibration is so compressed, and you can hear it in the songs too. When you hear,
Right.
oh, that's an open chord, or that's an open note. He's playing it right here,
Right.
or they're playing it right here, and you can hear that chord. And
Yeah.
it takes time. It just takes time to hear those differences because before, like, dude, I hear no difference, nothing, nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And now it sounds completely different.
Yeah. Were the because I know the right side, right, had, they would tell you what finger to use for your
Yeah, so
picking, right?
even which so on both fingers, they'll tell you.
Oh, right, right, right.
So they'll tell
You're,
you what bar, what fret to bar, what note's going to be string. Somebody do a partial bar, and you have open strings behind it. It will also tell you what finger to pluck you on your right hand, like P, I, and
right.
A. So depending
Yeah.
what you're doing, that's the one you're plucking it with because that's the easiest one, setting yourself up for what's next.
Yeah.
Sometimes at the time there might be a really awkward fingering, but you have to suck it up because if you don't do that fingering, you won't be able to hit those leading tones that make the song sound good.
Yeah.
Just rhythm.
Uh the one cool thing about classical and the fact that they do all that for you is it actually helps you know what the positioning is, right? Because a lot of times in church music, we'll hear a lead line, we might hear it be open, there might be an open note, but if there's not, then you've got what, like possibly three places you can play the same kind of like guitar part, right? And yeah, that's something I'm assuming they have charts that for lead guitar for church stuff, but I'm guessing hardly anybody knows, one, how to read it, but two, is probably not going to spend the money, through song select or praise charts just to see what they do. They'll just YouTube it,
Yeah,
so
and that's
it's
where I think early on, anyone who's starting, the faster you can start playing with people, the better, especially people who are better than you, and you start learning. And you
yeah,
start learning lyrics, or like another big resource, worship tutorials. I'm telling you, those guys crazy help me out a lot because you
yeah,
see the language, you see how they play and how they learn certain tunes and their tones as well. And I think
yeah.
also before you learn anything, you got to have a really good tone when you're playing worship.
Mm,
Tone is extremely important. I can't tell you.
yeah,
And so if anyone doesn't know, I play on the Helix. I run like a Fender Strat through a Helix, but I have like a humbucker single single, so I like a little bit hotter. But literally for the first couple years, Scott knows, every part of the song will be tailored for that specific part. I'll go in, put my headphones in, and really fine tune every specific patch. For
yeah.
typically it'll be like average 4 patches per song. So say, let's see, what's a very, very common song? Rattle. I know we did Rattle for a long
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We did Rattle a lot, but
Rattle.
yeah.
So we did Rattle. There'll be Rattle intro because it's a very clean sound, very dry, but this is really just fat guitar. When you see like
Yeah,
what's open chord, it goes like an open D with the cape on the first fret, that open D, but just really just heavy, heavy sound. And then there's that guitar line where it's just like when we always just get it, when it starts going down, no, 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 no.
yeah, yeah,
That's a
yeah,
different line too. That's not that still drives, but it's not as distorted and it's a little bit soft on the tone because it's so dry.
yeah.
But I'll have those dialed in, but Kate takes time to really fine tune your tone. But now I plug it in. I have my 4 tones that are generic, and I just know, okay, this needs horsepower. I'll go on this tone and use your tone knob. But
Oh,
it took
that's
me time
smart.
to get Take me time to get the like how to train your ear. I do have a delay
Yeah,
on there for songs like Raise a Hallelujah that you need that dotted eighth, but it's very rare you'll start playing that.
yeah, yeah. A couple of our guys ended up just starting to buy the Helix patches from either the guitar player or someone who mimicked it really well, emulated it.
Mhm.
It's that's pretty cool. Could be pretty lucrative if you're good at creating the tones, right? But there is something to be said about making your own tone, right?
Mhm.
It's like making your own chart or making your own lead guitar part. I don't know. Just
Get
yeah,
this,
yeah,
get the ear
yeah,
from it, man.
yeah.
Like
That's yeah, my yeah, yeah. like mixing and stuff, like all the frequency ideas and stuff. Oh, that stuff's just I can't do that. It's just not, my
Um,
head's not there. I don't hear
100%
it.
the
But
same.
you're probably,
No, no, no. Frequencies, I
well,
listen to what I
at least
like.
for guitar. For guitar.
Yeah, so okay, yeah, exactly. When it comes
Yeah.
to Helix, like we'll play something, and keep in mind the Helix does adjust. If I'm going straight DI into the house, that's gonna sound a little bit different than to my ears. But I personally would love the sound when I go from the Helix into an amp because it has that extra just oomph. He's got that
Yeah.
extra push, that bottom end, and that helps a lot. But also, early on, I didn't know worship guitar was a thing. I didn't know I could buy the patches. So they had these
Right.
preset and I'll go on the forums on line6.com. These guys are tone deaf. There's like, dude, this is the worst patch I've
Yeah.
ever heard in my life.
It's like
But
tablature, right?
yeah,
Tablatures were
exactly.
always
And it's
wrong. You're
just
like, man, why
blissful
did I
at the
even look this
time.
up?
And I think they're trolling at this point, but you adjust it
Yeah.
and then you start fine tuning. Okay, this sounds really good. Or I'm learning a new song. Well, that song sounds like this. I'll copy that patch and just adjust it to this song and just go from
Yeah.
there. And it will time you get through over and over. And if you look at literally, I'm not even kidding, probably made over like five, six, 700 different patches. If you look at like
Jeez.
the ones I've made,
Yeah.
just oh, probably close to now. I probably have a few hundred because I've deleted some. But
Right.
yeah, just oh,
Do
my
you
board has over like 800 patches
do you save them as this song verse, this song chorus,
now or back then.
or just in general? I guess
Um,
now.
yeah, back then, yeah, I did exactly
Okay.
like, hey, this is intro, clean, intro, crunch or verse, chorus, dry, and then bridge, delay, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Now it's just four patches and so the top bottom row being my four patches with all my reverbs, my delays. It'll be my clean, my crunch, my drive, my lead. And then
Yeah.
on top, on the first three will be those same exact patches, just dry. Very either no or very little reverb and delay. And then
And then
on
you'll
my
just add it if you need it, kind of thing.
well, now I'll just go to the bottom row because it's the same exact tone. I just
Um,
take off delay and reverb, which are very minimal, extremely
Gotcha.
because sometimes I personally don't
You
like
want
when
it to
the
cut, right?
reverb.
You want it to
Yeah, I
cut in the
want to
mix.
cut, but you also I put
Gotcha.
a little verb or a little delay just so it fills in the gap, so it's not too abrupt. Because if
Right.
you just have it just completely dry, it just the
Yeah, it
sound goes
sounds
too quickly.
it's funny because it'll end up sounding I don't want to say not as expensive because that doesn't make sense.
No,
But
yeah, you're right.
it doesn't sound as like, oh, this is not what the album sounds like. But
That's it.
then
It's
if you got a room sound and like I feel like we're all used to like our in ears being pretty dry
hmm.
for the sake of just playing and listening to everybody else. But in the house, you got a whole room that it echoes and once again, if you don't have any real effects, it'll cut through the mix really well and blend. And so that's actually a really good idea.
I
Having
think
the two options.
yeah, I think the in-ears are very critical too. So
Yeah,
anyone that's watching this, you don't need all the expensive in-ears. You get the cheap ones from Amazon for like 20 bucks. Those ones I have,
that's
all
right.
reliable, all
That's right.
reliable.
Well, hey, dude, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But yeah, I'm just trying to think of any like final thoughts or final topics of discussion. Definitely want to have you on again. Like I said last time, this was very impromptu. I texted him like yesterday because I was like, oh no, I don't have a podcast for Wednesday, and he was gracious enough to
Of
not
course,
only have
man.
to work late and then now miss the gym, but to come on and say hi but
We'll get Joseph on next time. We'll do a trifecta, man.
yeah, I'll just have fun with it. Dude, I'm so down to just do like a super long one. Just us just talking
Oh,
about
let's do
worship
it.
and
Let's do
music
it.
and life and
When do
yeah.
you it's ask him when's the next
Yeah,
month?
just like I mean, we just do it once every month, kind of thing. And because once again, like I was trying to explain to you, there's a gap in our podcast where we all meet in person.
Hmm.
And so for that 1 week, because I film them a week before I actually post them, yeah, there's just this. I was just thinking though, because actually one of our volunteers said, "Hey, it would be really cool to have either musicians from our main service, because a lot of the musicians that are interested in learning about all these things
Hmm.
are trying to work their way up, whether it be our church or just church in general. music and worship in general. But but yeah, he mentioned he was like, he's never even like listened to the podcast. So, but when he said, yeah, it'd be cool to have somebody from our main service talk about their experience or their come ups or how they look at things for worship, blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah, actually, that's not a bad idea. And I've reached out to some of them, so it'll come down the road. But
Yeah.
it's we already chat every week, so this
Yeah.
is just an extension of that.
I think when you start playing main service, the best thing I can advise is just be very prepared. That you gotta be very, very prepared and but also be adaptable because it's never gonna go according to plan. Stuff
Yeah.
happens. But that's why like you learn the song, don't learn it exactly like that's just me personally.
Right.
Learn the form, learn the form. Don't learn the song beginning to end because
It's never
worship's
gonna
never
go like
happening.
that.
Yeah, it's never
Yeah.
sometimes it is,
Yeah.
it's a very strict, hey, very strict timing, and it's great. Hey, no more power to them, but just learn the song, man. Have fun.
Yeah.
Don't practice, 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 but also then at the end of the day, throw your little sprinkle your little taste on,
Yeah.
make add
Yeah.
your
I
flavor.
put your own spin on stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't be afraid to experiment, especially if, obviously don't play the wrong notes
Mm.
like in the scale, but no, feel free to like, yeah, improvise and add something that you like to play. And worst case scenario, the worship leader, the MD just says, hey, can you cut that out?
You're never coming back, bro.
I'm talking about you, Joseph. Talking about you, bro.
Cool,
But
man.
yeah, we gotta worship again soon.
Bro, let's do it.
Either I come to you guys or because I'm a little bit closer now. I'm like, when I moved, I'm like 10 to 15 minutes closer. So
Yeah.
technically it's the same distance now from when I used to drive to father's house and then from my new house to Reliance. So I have no excuses now.
Come party with us,
Got,
bro.
got to go tell PJ, right? PJ?
Oh
Is it
yeah,
PJ?
Pastor Joel.
Yeah, 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 Pastor Joel.
I was just like,
Uh,
it's
he's
BJ
like,
Putnam, bro.
oh yeah. Hey
Yeah,
dude, have
Pastor
fun playing
Joel.
more and more, dude. I can't wait to watch it.
I'm
Hopefully
hoping,
the
fingers crossed, we go through with it. I sprinkled the idea. It'll be really fun. We did that in Jesus' name. We did there was one more song I forgot, but we want to do a bunch of bangers. They thought joked around playing Oceans. I'm like, oh, okay, we'll see about that.
unless there's like a really good version, like, oh, the last thing I'll say because I want to let you go. So will I. Have you heard that version? There's a church, a guy does it.
No.
He can sing like crazy high. If you look it up, just look up "So Will I" cover, and you'll see it, or I'll send it to you. But
Yeah.
amazing. Like, I think if you can do a song that's been kind of played out, but do it in your own way as a band, which I know you guys are going to do. Like, you guys are so talented to the point where, and you guys are like the same. I mean, you have the same team for the most part, other than maybe a few other people coming in and out. The
Drummer's
drummer,
the only
the
one that
yeah,
rotates. That's it. It's
right,
very rare. Maybe
but
singer, but Bree and Jess are just killing it.
yeah,
Being
yeah. Oh, I joked with Joseph too because when I told him originally, like, yeah, what I like to do is I like to bring more people in and, just have a place that everyone can learn. And so I was already got to like swap people out. Um, but then what else I was going to say? But then that he laughed because then like a month later, he's like, man, we got another drummer. So now we're adding more people. And I was like, oh, cool, cool, cool. So,
everyone's
he's
super
like, you're rubbing
solid.
off on me.
Yeah, all the drummers there are just Larry,
Yeah,
Chamber, Kevin, super amazing
dude.
players.
And the fact that
And
they haven't, or at least one of them hasn't played in church ever
that's
till
Larry. So
yeah,
Larry, early on,
yeah,
amazing drummer, very solid, a great blues player. And then we start coming in here. It was just like he was adapting. He was adapting. He adapted very, very quickly. And I remember
yeah.
one time we were playing and we dropped off and literally seen the video recording. The line was so good, he broke mine and Joseph's neck like this. So good lines.
Hey,
Wow, man. And prime example, it happened to me too in the past. I remember you were there where I showed up and learned the completely wrong set.
yeah,
I
yeah. I
learned
do remember that one.
all the wrong songs. Things like, dude, stop playing around. Let's play the right songs. Learned the whole wrong set. Larry, it happened. Unfortunately, Larry missed a song, and dude, boom,
Yeah.
got
Just
got it.
like listen to it real
Yeah,
quick,
listened
get
to
the
it, played it
vibe. Okay, let's
together.
go.
Yeah, played it, and it's like, dude, he got it, nailed it, and just the way he's progressed because he just plays with us all the time. We
Yeah.
showed him, and like now he's learning that he's learned the form, but he's also like, hey, he knows when's that drive. When you drive in the worship, it's really big, or when it's just it's just drums and just driving that worship, like very an intimate
Yeah.
moment with the congregation. And he's gotten really good at it. He's gotten amazing, and plus he's a
So
great,
cool.
such a good guy.
Yeah, that's what church should be about. Is
Mm.
just bringing in any musician who has a gift, and obviously we want it to be like an offering to God, right? We're in worship, but sometimes you got to walk your own path, and there's no reason why a great talented musician can't play in church, even if they don't know the Lord yet, because that could be the reason why they do. I mean, I got rededicated after like I want to say it was at least 2 years of playing back in church after I, left the
Mm.
church, and but the congregation was accepting, the pastors were welcoming, the bands were awesome, and the musicians, and that's sometimes all it takes to have that moment. And so yeah, hope all the best for you and your team. And like I said, I got to get out there, and/or I got to bring you guys in at some point.
Let us know,
So
man. Let us know
we'll
in
we'll
advance.
melt
Go
some
something.
faces
Oh,
for
we'll try.
Jesus.
We'll
So
try. Love to
well,
play
hey,
with you, man.
we'll have our weekly call next week, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let us know.
I gotta
Hey,
start calling you first. I want to see
oh,
like
dude.
if I
No,
beat you to it.
I'm gonna ignore it. Call you back. Okay, I got you. I'm just
Ah,
kidding.
that'd be funny.
But
That'd
we'll
be funny.
get the next one. I think it'll be really good. We'll get Joseph on, man. That'd be a
Yeah,
really
dude.
because now we start getting love to talk about how we all started, like how we started playing together, because and just go from there and see
Yeah,
how everyone up.
our kind of story, like how we all met and what that's done, or how far we've come. I'll say just as a group, a friend group, but obviously a church musician group too. It's pretty, yeah, it's unique. I think
I
the
think
fact
so.
that we all just clicked, and sometimes you have to recognize that that's a precious thing, and the only way to hold on to it is to keep connected, stay connected musically, but also socially,
Yeah,
and then support each other just with whatever we're all
100%.
doing. And I'm the one who ditched you guys, so
No. So next time sometime next month, we'll just all talk, do
yeah,
get Joseph
we'll
on.
keep the conversation going. This is
Yeah,
part
and then
one.
they'll start learning how we all so
Yeah,
now we stuck with each other now.
that's right. That's right. All right, I'm gonna let you go, bro. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
man.